So welcome back. So today I want to talk about the first seal that kind of starts from the Revelation 12 sign. You follow Jupiter, man-child, Jesus. You follow that for 30 moon cycles, and it eventually floats on into the rider on a horse. And so I'm going to take you into Stellarium and show you that. But before I do, I just want to read Revelation chapter 6 verses 1 and 2, what it says about the first seal and the rider on a white horse. It says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as if it were a noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, 'Come and see.' And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." That was the King James Version. I just want to read from it's my Greek English interlinear version, and they use the New Revised Standard Version. I just want to read it from that as well. "Then I saw the Lamb open one of the seven seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures call out, as with a voice of thunder, 'Come!' And I looked, and there was a white horse. Its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering and to conquer." So we'll get into Stellarium there, and we'll actually have a look at the transition from Jupiter coming out of Revelation 12 sign, and 30 moons later, it creates the first seal. So I'm going to show you the first seal, but we're going to start back at the Revelation 12 sign, just so I can show you how it leads to the first seal. So we're going to follow Jupiter. Jupiter is the man-child, Jesus, and Jesus would say, "Come, follow me." So we will follow Jupiter as it goes through the heavens. We'll keep it centered here. So Jupiter travels through each constellation. It takes 12 years to traverse all 12 constellations, and each time it enters a constellation, it'll slow down and it'll retrograde, go backwards, and it'll slow down again and resume course. It does that with each constellation that it enters. And it takes 30 moons from the Revelation 12 sign to get to the rider on a horse with a bow. And Jupiter's coming in now into that. Well, as Jupiter gets over top of the rider on a horse with a bow, the sun comes in, making that rider on the horse very bright white. So this is your white horse with a rider on a horse with a bow. And then we have the moon coming in, and it makes an eclipse here just before midnight on Jerusalem time. I set this for Jerusalem time. So this eclipse happens on the 25th of December in Jerusalem, and then a half an hour later, or an hour later, it would be the 26th, and so the rest of the world would see it on the 26th. So this eclipse, click on it, this is it, December 26th eclipse. It's an annular eclipse, so an annular eclipse means that the moon is not equal size with the sun, is actually smaller than the sun, which leaves the corona of the sun visible, which corona means, in Latin, it means crown. So you have, in a sense, a rider on a white horse with a bow receiving a crown, just like Revelation chapter 6 verses 1 and 2 says. So what else do we have in December? The timeline of COVID-19, first human cases of COVID-19 in December 2019. So you have that. So you have a coronavirus, and there's another nod to the corona, meaning crown. So we have a few indicators here. And strong Greek concordance, it is called a diadem, a crown, a head wreath crown. So we have here the rider on a horse with a bow. It is a white horse. As you can see, if you just back it up one day, it's bright white before the moon comes in. And he's been receiving a crown. Pretty amazing. The odds of this happening. Welcome back. This video was about the second seal. So about the second seal. So it's in Revelation chapter 6, verses 3 and 4. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So that was the King James. I just want to read it in the other version, a New Revised Standard Version. Okay, chapter 6, verse 3 and 4. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature call out, "Come." And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people would slaughter one another. And he was given a great sword. We're going to go into Stellarium. I'm going to show you how we're going to follow Jupiter, the man-child, Jesus. We're going to follow that from where we left off, the first seal, and then 3 moon cycles later, it leads right into the second seal. So without any further delay, we'll go into Stellarium and check it out. So we're going to follow Jupiter again. We'll follow it from the first seal to the second seal. And the second seal is only 3 months away. So we're just going to follow it. We'll watch the moon come in. There goes the moon first time. Here comes the moon second time. And here comes the moon the third time. I'm just going to creep in on this hour by hour because a very interesting and rare luminary conjunction, 3 of them. 3 luminaries all at once. This is rare when 3 of them get together. Conjunctions are rare as it is. When you get 3 of them, it's rare. Just like the first seal had a 3-point conjunction with Jupiter coming in over the head, and then the sun coming in, and the moon coming in. We have a similar one here. We have Jupiter and Mars and the moon. Now, even though this is a nice one, it could be the start date, the 18th, but I think it is in 2 more days, and we're going to talk about that later because it's actually a tighter conjunction. But this definitely gets your attention because we have 4 luminaries in this constellation on the rider on a horse, but right here we have 3, which is rare. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead 2 more days. And we have this Jupiter-Mars conjunction, and it is very tight. It's a very tight conjunction. And Saturn here. So this, Mars being red, and the sun's gone. The sun's over, way up in here. So we have the no sun. The sun made the rider on the horse bright white in the first seal, but the sun is now gone. It's no longer bright. But Mars came in. Mars is the red planet. Mars is being the enemy. Conjuncted with Jupiter. Mars being red. This is your rider on a red horse. Now details. The conjunction happens over here. The first seal, the conjunction happened over here, right with the bow, because it was given a crown, but it had a bow. In this one, the bow is in his left hand. Over here, the rider on a red horse is given a sword, and over here,
would be where the sword would be. So the attention to detail here is pretty amazing, because it is right over here. And we have Saturn, which you zoom in on a telescope, it looks like the eyeball being the witness. And I just want to quickly take you through the rest of the constellations, just to show you that there's not really much going on except for right here, in the rider on a horse. We had the moon here, which the moon was just right here with a three-way conjunction. Mercury here, the water bearer, just one luminary in this one luminary in the fishes, aka the church, one luminary in Aries, or the ram, the male lamb. And then you have the bull, that's empty. You have the twins, it's empty. The crab is empty. The lion is empty. Virgin is empty. The scales are empty. The scorpion is empty, and we get back to here. So as you see, the action is happening over here, and conjunction. And 3 moons after the first seal, we have the second seal. So what was happening here, March 20th? What else was happening in the Earth? The timeline of COVID, and the first human cases in December on the first seal, and then this turned into a pandemic in March. So we go to COVID lockdowns, beginning with the first lockdowns happening in China and Italy in March. Now, another interesting connection is the name of March, the month of March, comes from Martius, the first month of the earliest Roman calendar. It was named after Mars. So there's an interesting connection right here, the Roman god of war. Okay, so we have another connection. And interestingly enough, what's the big deal with March? Well, March is the only other month with the 4 seals, seals 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mars sticks out as the oddball because the other 3 seals happen in December. All the other 3 happen in December, and this one happens to be in March. And then we have this really amazing connection with Mars and March being connected. So it's really amazing. And this is your rider on a red horse with a sword.
Welcome back. This video is about the third seal, the rider on a black horse with a pair of scales or balances in his hand. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou not hurt the oil and the wine." That was the King James Version. I just want to read it from my Greek English Interlineary. It's the New Revised Standard Version. So it is chapter 6, verses 5 and 6. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature call out, "Come." And I looked, and there was a black horse. Its rider held a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures, saying, "A quart of wheat for a day's pay, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's pay. But do not damage the olive oil and the wine." So that kind of sets up what we're looking for and for the third seal. And so let's go into Stellarium and have a look at it.
So we're going to start back where we left off, and the rider on a red horse, and it's red because Jupiter has indicated it because Mars is here, Mars being the red planet, Saturn being the witness. So we're going to start here. We're going to follow Jupiter, the man-child, Jesus, as Jesus would say, "Come follow me," and that's how I got here, was from following Jupiter. And he shows us the seals. So we'll start off following Jupiter. It's 9 months until the next seal, so there's, 9 moon cycles. Months, almost. So it was 1 moon, 2 moons, 3 moons, 4 moons, 5 moons, 6 moons, 7 moons, 8, and 9. And as this next, that was 9 moons. So this next moon coming in is going to create an eclipse with the sun. So as it's coming in, we have Jupiter and Saturn about to conjunct in the rider and a horse. We have Mercury ready to conjunct with the sun, and the moon coming in to create an eclipse. Here comes the moon. At this point, I'm just going to hit the sun so we can center on the sun so I don't lose everything. So the moon's coming in to create the eclipse. And there it is there. Okay, so let's go look at the eclipse. It was on December 14th, 2020. Total eclipse was not an annular eclipse like the first seal, which left the corona, the crown. This one's total. It's a black out eclipse. And so we have a black eclipse here. This conjunction here is, in astronomy, it's called the Great Conjunction because it's the most rare conjunction with the 7 luminaries, Jupiter and Saturn, because they are the slowest moving ones out there. So once every 20 years, approximately every 20 years, they get together. However, this Great Conjunction, and it was actually made a big deal of it here, it happens in 7 days. The Great Conjunction happens in 7 days. And that's a bit of a sign in itself because it's 7 days from this sign. 7 days from then to become the Great Conjunction. Now this Great Conjunction is the closest conjunction in 400 years. It's been 400 years since they have been this close together. So that is kind of remarkable. Mercury and Venus and the Sun is a 3-in-1 package. Like I've said before, they're a 3-in-1 package. Sometimes Mercury and Venus individually, together, they're used as like messengers, indicators. They will retrograde, go around a certain star to indicate things. They're used as indicators, almost like 2 hands to point at stuff. So in this one here, Venus is indicating the scales. So I'm getting into the details of this sign now. So we have the scales here, we have the rider on a horse here, the sun in the middle, and we introduce a new character because the sun is actually eclipsing in Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is like the champion because he's a champion of the serpent. Serpent is the only constellation out of the 88 that is divided into 2. Actually, when you get into Revelation chapter 12, talking about a dragon with 7 heads, well, this is actually called the head of the serpents. This is the tail of the serpents. And if you count these stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you got a serpent, a dragon with 7 heads. Up here you have a corona, a crown, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars there. So we can I'll probably talk about this in another video because I could go into great depth about this. But Ophiuchus is in the story of Christ in the constellations. This guy represents Christ defeating the serpent, and his heel is also down here on the head of the scorpion, and the other foot over here is being stung by the tail into the heel of this. And for those who know your word, you'll know what that is depicting: crushing the head and getting stung in the heel. Okay, so let's get back to the sign, the details. Okay, so way up here we have the Great Conjunction, and on the very other end of the sign we have the top of the scales. So the distance between this conjunction and the center of the sun is almost identical to the distance from the center of the sun to the tip of the scales. So it is very balanced in that respect, and it goes along with the theme of being balanced. And there's another a balance in this sign, which is Venus, its position. The line goes through the sun, so the distance between Venus and the center of the sun and the center of the sun to the center of this constellation, which is approximately here, is also balanced. The center of this constellation and where Venus is a balanced distance between the center of the sun and Venus, center of the sun, and this constellation with the rider on a horse. So this here is your rider on a black horse, because it's a blackout eclipse, holding the scales, because Venus is the arm holding onto the scales. It's a very large eclipse. It expands, sorry, not a very large eclipse. It's a very large sign because it spans 3 constellations. And I said in the last video, when the Lord chooses the 7 luminaries and the 12 constellations, using them alone to tell a story, how else would things be depicted? How else would someone to tell a story of a rider on a black horse holding the scales? And we know this is talking about the price of food going up, a day's wages for a loaf of bread, a day's wages for 3 loaves of barley. So let's check out what was happening on Earth. And I went through and I started pulling up graphs from around the countries around the world. So at the end of 2020, what happens with food inflation? We see Argentina, it's going up. I live in Canada, so end of December 2020, right here, and then we see it going up. This one here is a global inflation surge, and the end of 2020 right here, and this is everything here, but we're just focusing on the food, and that's the yellow. And you can see here at the end, the yellow just going straight up. Ireland, end of 2020 right here, you can see it going up. It correlates with what was going on the earth at that time. It's like the beginning of a sharp curve upwards in inflation. So here it is, one last look, a rider on a black horse, because this is total black eclipse right in the center of the sign. This conjunction, the Great Conjunction, and 7 days later, it is the tightest it's ever been in the conjunction that's ever been in 400 years.
Welcome back. This is going to be the 4th seal. And when he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. That was the King James Version. I'm just going to read the New Revised Standard Version here. When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature call out, "Come." And I looked, and there was a pale green horse. Its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed with him. They were given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with sword, famine, and pestilence, and by the wild animals of the earth. So we'll go into Stellarium now, and we'll have a look at the seal.
So we're going to continue on where we left off. We were in the 3rd seal, and we were following Jupiter, Jesus, the man-child from Revelation 12 sign. We followed Jupiter. It revealed to us the first seal, the second seal, and this third seal. And Jupiter is going to be carrying on, and I believe it's going to carry on to be part of the fifth seal. And so we're going to stay here in the rider on a horse, and 13 moons later it leads us to the fourth seal. So we're going to go forward in time, and yeah, the rabbits are happy. Okay, I'm going forward in time. I'll stay here. So look at this constellation. It's pretty empty. Like most of the time when you're looking, not a lot going on until you get a conjunction of wandering stars, wandering luminaries together, and then you can investigate, see if it matches up with scripture, see if it matches up with things that are happening on the earth, just to be able to decipher if it has any meaning to it at all. Okay, so we have Venus coming in, and it's going to go on one end of the rider on a horse, and Mercury's coming in to go on the other side, just as a comet is coming in. And these, I said last video, these are messengers or indicators, and I mean, they wouldn't really, like, you wouldn't really need them here, but I mean, this is just like more added verification that this is a seal, because I would have been, for me, after seeing all those other seals, and then to see this comet coming through the rider on a horse after all that, but then you have the two messengers here on both sides of this constellation, almost like lighting up the runway. And I'll bring this comet in, and it comes in on the 14th. It crests into the constellation of rider on a horse. So let's go and look at this comet. And it is pale green, and it matches the description in Revelation chapter 6 verses 7 and 8, matches the description of a pale green horse. And so I'm gonna look at Leonard. I'm gonna click on here, and I'm just gonna explain what some of these numbers mean. So the C part of the this name, the C means it is not a periodic comet. If it was a periodic comet, there would be a P here. So this is the first time this comet has ever been seen. That's what basically that means. If it's a C, it's the first time it's ever been seen. If it comes back again, it'll graduate from a C to a P, becoming a periodic comet. So this comet's never been seen before because it's classified C. And the 2021, it is the year that it was in, and this is the name of the person who discovered it, who first spotted it. Okay, so it just gives you a bit of background information. Now I'm going to give you some bit more information here. This is the magnitude of the comet, and magnitude, it relates to how bright it is. And for example, I'm going to click on Venus. Venus is a -4.54. It is the brightest wanderer. Normally, it's the brightest wanderer next to the sun. And the sun, click on it, it's a -26.78. So you can see it is the sun's the brightest, and then Venus at a -4.54. And the limitations of the naked eye visual for most people is a 4.5. That's usually the limitations to the naked eye that someone can see, is about 4.5. Some people have the ability to see up to about a 6.5, but usually after a 4.5 you need help, like binoculars or telescope, in order to see the luminaries. So I'm going to back this up, and I want you to keep your eye on the magnitude here, okay, of Leonard, of this comet. It's going to back it up a day. Now it's 4.18. This is the brightest that the comet gets from its journey, and from this day into the next day, the 14th, is when it crests over into the rider on a horse, which is pretty interesting when it comes to details. There it is there. So okay, what does it all mean, right? What does it all mean? Well, we know that it represents a lot of, it represents death and hell, it says. So we're going to look at what was happening on Earth this was at the end of 2021. So we start looking in the first month of 2022. We'll get some news stories. The 5 largest life insurance companies in the U.S. show an increase in death payouts in 2021. I'm going to go through these rather quickly. Insurance company raises alarm over unprecedented spike in deaths. Insurance executive says death rates among working age people are up 40%. What's this one saying? The top insurance companies report a spike in excess deaths. 40% rise in nationwide excess deaths among 18 to 49. Death among 18 and 49, more than 40% in the 12 months compared to the same period before the COVID-19 pandemic. This one here, it's up to a 65% increase in 18 to 49-year-olds. That's what this one says. And all deaths of all causes increasing, insurance company says. And this one, huge numbers. Insurance group sees death rates up 40% over pre-pandemic levels.
Welcome back. I have some good news. I was able to find seals 5, 6, and 7. I want to thank everyone out there that was praying for me to find them. Your prayers worked. I was looking for Jupiter. I went back to the 4th seal and I started following Jupiter again because that's how I was led to find the first 3 seals, was following Jupiter from the Revelation 12 sign, man-child, Jesus, come follow me. So we followed it. And we got the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd seal, and Jupiter went on. I stayed in the constellation, the rider on a horse, to see if something was going to happen, and sure enough, the pale green comet came through to create the 4th seal. So after that, I thought, well, I'll follow Jupiter, and hopefully it'll lead to the 5th seal. But I followed it, kept looking. Nothing seemed to fit, and nothing seemed to match. So I went back to the scriptures. So I want to read that. It's Revelation chapter 6, verses 9, 10, and 11. And when he had opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So I read that passage over and over, and eventually the word altar came up. And I want to show you in Stellarium how we find that.
So we'll pick up where we left off at the rider on a horse, and this was where the 4th seal took place. So before we go and look at the stars, I want to show you where we get the altar from. So I looked up altar, and we have here the biblical interpretation of the sign of Moznaim, Libra, the balances. So this is the biblical interpretation of the scales, the balances, Libra. The Moznaim is represented by the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet and has a value of 5. So we'll read this little excerpt here. And the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is called He. So He is the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet and has a value of 5. Here we see how even the construct of this letter resembles a pair of balances. We look up here, the old ancient Paleo-Hebrew, it looks like balances. And or an altar in the modern Hebrew, it looks like an altar for sacrifice. As some believe Libra should be represented by. In either case, the letter He and the number 5 tie into both the law of Moses, consisting of 5 books, and the altar upon which 5 types of offerings were placed. So this is the altar, and this was what I was looking for after reading the scripture over and over, the word altar. I realized I had to find out where in the constellations was the altar, and so it is in the scales. So now we'll pick up where we left off here. And we're just going to go forward in time until the moon passes, and we'll grab a ride on the moon, because the moon plays a very important role in this 5th seal. So we'll center on the moon here, and we'll follow the moon until it gets to the altar, the balances. So 5 moon cycles later, the 5th seal appears. So we're in the altar. So that's 1. The first time the moon goes through the altar. So we're going to stay here with the altar, the scales, the balances, and wait for the moon to go 4 more times. So that was 1 time through. There's 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. Now, on this day, May 15th, so you have 5 moon cycles, the 5th month, 15th day. That's a lot of 5s right there. It enters the altar. And just want to show you here that we're in Jerusalem time, and this event happens just before midnight, so we'll just jump a few hours ahead, and it's going to zoom in here, and then we can watch this blood moon occur. So we can see right here the moon going red, becoming a blood moon, and just before midnight here at 11:30, and this is Jerusalem time. This is important because May 15th is an important day, and I'll show you of 2022. Now, May 15th of 2022 was second Passover. So let's read about second Passover. And I'll try and pronounce this properly. It is Pesach Sheni. And if I pronounced it wrong, you can tell me in the comments. There's a second Passover, or sacrifice. So we have a theme here of sacrifice. We've got the scales, the altar. It's landing on second Passover, sacrifice, and then we have all these 5s showing up. 5th moon, 5th seal, 5th month, 15th day. And the actual, the Libra, the balances, is represented by the 5th letter in the Hebrew alphabet, He, which is another 5. So we're loaded. We have lots of 5s here. So anyway, it says here, it marks the day when someone who is unable to participate in the Passover offering in the proper time, and would observe the mitzvah exactly 1 month later. So we have it here, the second Passover. So I want to jump back over to Stellarium, and I want to read chapter 6 in Revelation, verse 11. It says here, "And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season." So as we watch this blood moon and we start to go forward in time again, the blood moon red, and then it slowly turns white again. It's like the souls under the altar receiving their white robe.
So welcome back. This video is about the sixth seal. So let's get into this. So sixth seal is actually 6 moon cycles after the fifth seal. So 6 moons after the fifth seal, we're into the sixth seal, and it happens to land on November 8th, 2022 at 6 a.m. So another 6 moon, 6 a.m. So it also falls on that day was the U.S. Election day. I don't know what bearing that has on all this, if it has any at all, but it's just a noteworthy, that's all. So I want to read Revelation here, chapter 6, verses 12 to 17. It says, "I beheld when he opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. The stars of heaven fell onto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled up together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?" So there's a lot there, and believe it or not, a lot of it is going to be shown, and we'll go right into Stellarium and have a look at it.
So we'll pick up where we left off from last time, which was in the fifth seal, and it was a blood moon in the scales, or the balances, or the altar. And we will click on the moon, and we will follow that to the next destination, which is the ram, the male lamb. So we're going to center on the ram, and so that wasn't a complete cycle of the moon, so we're going to start counting now, and it will be 6 moons from this point. So we have 1 moon cycle, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we'll go forward in time. It's the blood moon is at 6 a.m. almost. It's the 6 a.m. is the peak of it. It's the darkest red at 6 a.m. So we'll just go forward until we get to there. And we're there. Okay, so we're at the peak of the blood moon, and it's in the ram. So I just want to read that chapter 6 and verse 16. "And said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb." So this matches scripture with the lamb, the male lamb, and it's telling us a story. 6 moon cycles ago, it was in the balances or the altar, And then 6 moons later, we have another blood moon. So back-to-back blood moons, and we have the altar, and then we have a ram, the male lamb. And this brings up a couple stories. We have Abraham and Isaac, and Isaac says, "Where's the sacrifice?" He says, "God will provide it." And in the thicket was the ram. And then we have Jesus as a sacrifice as well, and he is the Lamb of God. So it's telling a couple of stories here. It's quite amazing. And so along with the story, there is more scriptures in this scripture to look at. It's a lot of information. There was an earthquake mentioned, so I just want to show you on November 8th, 2022. There was indeed an earthquake. It says 6 dead after earthquake hits Nepal. It was a magnitude 6.6, and it struck the western Nepal at about 2 a.m. And it was 2 a.m. on November 9th there, but Jerusalem time, it was 2 a.m. Jerusalem time is 11:15, and you can also check it here, 2 hours and 45-minute difference. So it was like 11 p.m. in Jerusalem. So another news article, 6 dead after powerful earthquake hits Nepal. And earthquake of magnitude of 6.6 struck Nepal early Wednesday, killing at least 6 people. And another news article, magnitude 6.6 earthquake strikes Nepal, leveling homes and shaking New Delhi. And this earthquake, the situation, where it's situated, I just want to show you. It's right here. It's situated between the 2 greatest populous countries in the world, close to 3 billion people total, which is just shy of half the population of Earth. 42 million people felt this earthquake when it went. And we'll go to right here. The earthquake was felt by over 42.1 million people across Nepal, India, and China. The earthquake occurred as a result of reverse faulting. It was felt as far away as the Indian capital of New Delhi, approximately 400 kilometers away. And this is, I'll just play a little bit of this video clip, not much of it.
Meanwhile, a powerful earthquake of 6.6 magnitude on the Richter scale struck Nepal. And according to reports that have come in, at least about 6 people have lost their lives so far. The National Seismological Center in Nepal has said that the earthquake happened roughly at about 2:12 a.m. with its epicenter in a place called Khaptar National Park in the Doti district. Media reports state that the quake tremors were also felt in the northern part of India, including in India's national capital, New Delhi.
6.6 quake and 6 killed on the 6th seal. So, falling stars. We have this Taurid meteor on November 8, 2022. More than 100 people reported seeing a fireball streak across the sky in the northeastern United States on Tuesday, November 8th. NASA Meteor Watch said in a Facebook post, known as a Taurid meteor, it was first spotted at 7:37 p.m. over Salem. There's another element to this that I want to show you, and it's a pretty big deal. And I'm going to zoom in because we have something new that we haven't had in the other seals. And that is a new luminary, an 8th luminary. We've been looking at all these with the naked eye, the 7 luminaries that you can see with the naked eye. This is the 8th luminary, and it cannot be seen with the naked eye. You usually need help with binoculars or a telescope to see this one. It is, the magnitude is 5.64, and normally the naked eye you can only pick up a 4.5. There's a few people around that can actually see further than that, but not many. So Uranus, let's look up the origin and the word Uranus. It's from Latin. Uranus from the Greek, Uranos, literally heaven, the sky, and Greek. The surname Uranos is derived from the Greek word meaning heaven. So we have Uranus equating heaven in this constellation, the time of the blood moon, and I'm going to read a scripture. It's chapter 6, verses 14, and it says, "And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together." The heaven departed. So I'm going to go forward in time while we're zoomed in and we can see Uranus, and we'll just go forward in time. And if Uranus equates heaven, and heaven just departed behind the moon, and at the same time the end of the blood moon is happening, almost like the precision here is uncanny, and it pops at the other side at perfect timing. So I'm going to play this a few times just to grasp the magnitude of this. The heaven departed as a scroll rolling together. It's just, it blew my mind. It literally put the fear of God in me when I seen this, just how like the scriptures match this. And mind you, I had a lot of preconceived ideas what the sixth seal would look like. I didn't think it would be like this. And yeah, let's go back one more time. So the heaven departed like a scroll rolling together. So this is, in astronomy, we call this an occultation. It's when one heavenly body covers another one, and it's the word occult means to hide. It just means to hide. It is hidden, and this is not astrology. Astrology is something totally different, and this is just, we're looking at scripture and we're looking in the heavens, just like Genesis 1:14, where it says he put them in the firmament, the luminaries, for signs and seasons, for days and years. And these are the signs we're looking at. So we're gonna go and talk about this. So that was amazing. That one really got to me. It really blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. The amount of precision in seeing the moon cover Uranus, and then the fact that as it's covering it, the blood moon's ending like identical, just right off the back, and I'm zoomed in, and I'm zoomed in far. There's 360 degrees in a circle, and I'm zoomed in within a degree, within 1 degree in there, and we're watching that, and not just within that window, but there's the ecliptic window. Okay, it's up and down, and the moon could be here, it could be down here, and Uranus could be up here or down here. Okay, they float, they fluctuate. Uranus takes 84 years to go around the ecliptic. 12 times 7 is 84 years, so it takes 7 years. It goes through each constellation, takes 7 years. It means heaven. It's a lot of indicators pointing this, but the fact that they couldn't fluctuate, but the fact that they're here and now on the level plane to the point where the moon like occults it, it covers it, and at the same time the blood moon is coming off just as it's falling right off, and that welcome back. This video will be about the seventh seal. So we're going to go into Stellarium and we're going to check out the seventh seal. So let's go check it out. So we'll start back here in the sixth seal. It's on November 8th, 2022 at 6 a.m., which was the peak of the blood moon under the ram and the male lamb. So we're going to follow this moon till we reach the seventh seal. It's not far. It's only 3 months away. It's on February 6, 2023. And this moon sits right in front of the mouth, the Lion of Judah. I'm going to read Revelation 8, chapter 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. So when I seen this, this is the day of the great earthquake in Turkey. When I seen this, it made me think about the scroll with the 7 seals on it. And he's breaking the 7th seal. Now, you can't read this scroll until that 7th seal is broken. And after that seal is broken, there's silence for half an hour before the Lion of Judah can speak. Jesus is the Lion of Judah. So this moon being here shows me that there is a silence there before it is read. Now, we're going to go and look at a map of Turkey. This is where the earthquake happened, and these are the churches, the 7 churches that are mentioned in the book of Revelation that John wrote. And John was on the island of Patmos, just east of Turkey here. And these are the 7 churches. Just down here is Syria to the south, and south of that is Israel. So we're going to read about the earthquake on February 6, 2023 at 4:17 TRT, which is time in Turkey. It's also the same time in Israel. So at 4:17, there was a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. And at 13:24, exactly 9 hours and 7 minutes later, there was a second earthquake of a magnitude 7.7. Now, there was widespread damage in the area of about 350,000 square kilometers. That's about the size of Germany. An estimated 14 million people, or the 16% of Turkey's population, were affected. Development experts from the United Nations estimated that about 1.5 million people were left homeless. The confirmed death toll stood at 59,259. 50,783 of them were in Turkey, 8,476 were in Syria. And I'll read down in the earthquake sequence. Just want to read you the last sentence in it. It says, these earthquakes were the largest Turkish earthquakes in over 2,000 years. There was over 570 aftershocks were recorded within 24 hours of the magnitude 7.8 earthquake, and 10,000 recorded 3 weeks later. I want to show you some earthquake maps. This shows all the different earthquakes that happened, and these are all with a 4.0 or greater that are mapped on this map. And if you look at it, you can see that the number 7 is like written in the earth. I'll show you another map. Shows you the same thing, this pattern. To me, it looks like the finger of God wrote this upon the earth. And one more here. This is a horizontal displacement, and it also shows the picture, the number 7. So let's look at some numbers here. So from the 6th seal, which was November 8, 2022, until the 7th seal, which was February 6, 2023, if you look at the seconds between those two events, there was 7,776,000 seconds between those two dates. I just think that's pretty remarkable. A lot of 7s there. So I'm going to go back to Stellarium. I'm going to go forward in time until we reach 4:17. Because the moon moves away from the mouth of the Lion of Judah. And there it is there, 4:17, the earthquake happened, and the moon has moved away from the mouth of the lion.